next speaker is Lori Todd, and I met her, almost a decade ago now. And I was helping someone with an appeal and thought that I could do it very well. And I read her book, and then I gave her a call, and she said, "Oh, sure, well, if you've read my book, then send me the appeal, and I'll redline what you've done wrong, and I'll help make it better." And so I sent her the appeal that I had worked so hard on, and there was not a word on it that wasn't redlined. And I thought, oh my goodness. And I think I cried a little bit, and then I got really tough, and I called her back, and she said, "Every word you write has meaning, and it can be powerful or it can leave you powerless." And I learned a great deal from her, and I can't wait for you to hear how she has become the insurance warrior. Lori Todd.
People are walking for the cure. They're running for the cure. They're donating for the cure. This is a good thing. However, when the cure for cancer is found, it will be very, very expensive. Your doctor will prescribe it, and your insurance company will deny it. They'll say, "It's experimental. It's not medically necessary. It's not in our formulary." What if the cure for your cancer is right here, and you can't have it because your insurance company doesn't want to pay for it? In March 2005, I was diagnosed with late-stage appendix cancer, rushed into surgery, and given months to live. Because I had an unusual cancer, I was sent to the chief of oncology. I said, "Well, I have appendix cancer. What's the treatment for that?" He said, "There is no treatment for your disease, and even if there were, they wouldn't pay for it." In that moment, I thought, "Oh yeah? That's just what you say." It didn't take me long to find the tried and proven treatment for my disease: cytoreductive surgery and hyperthermic intraperitoneal chemotherapy, HIPEC. It's just that it was out of network, so my insurance company denied it. I had no out-of-network benefit. Was that going to stop me? Was I going to die because my insurance company didn't want to pay for it? People say, "Oh, you had such a burning desire to live." And I say, "No, I had a burning desire not to look like the world's biggest chump." For 2 months, I read, studied, gathered proof. Nobody thought that I would win. 3 days after receiving my 23-page war documents, the insurer called me. Well, we decided to pay for it. The bill for my 14-hour surgery and my 43 days in the hospital was $347,000. I had the cheesiest, catastrophic, individual policy with a $6,000 deductible and a $16,000 out-of-pocket maximum. Must have scared my insurer pretty badly because they paid it all. Deductible, out-of-pocket, all paid. A year after the surgery, I got a bill from the hospital in Washington, D.C. for $9. Of course, being me, I called them up, "So what's the $9 for?" She said, "You asked for a glass of juice in the hospital." I said, "You know what? I'm a big spender. I'll send that $9 check today." It wasn't long before other patients started to find me and ask me to write their appeals. This became my work. As of today, 11 years later, I just won appeal number 178. Wow. All different insurers, all different diseases and conditions, all over the country, all for treatments costing between $100,000 and $1 million, most one in a week or less. How did I win my appeal? I had no out-of-network coverage. They were not required to pay for it. I won my appeal because I knew all along that when the insurance company says no, it's not the law, it's just what they say. When I speak to general audiences, people often say, "Oh, that will never happen to me. I have good insurance. They paid for my knee replacement. They never give me any trouble." And I say, all insurance is very good until you need something they don't want to pay for. In 1970, average lifetime medical expenses for one person were about $2 million. Those same medical treatments today would cost approximately $38 million. No insurer, no employer, no government entity can afford to spend $38 million on you. It doesn't add up. They would go broke. So your insurer has to find many different ways of not paying for the medical treatments that you need. Nobody who is alive today will get through their lifetime without running up against something your insurer doesn't want to pay for. So what's the good news about insurance denials? They can be overcome quickly and decisively. Where do we start? By knowing that when an insurance company says, no, it's not the law, it's just what they say. In 2011, Debbie from Long Island contacted me about an appeal. Her son Robbie had had his life-saving surgery 2 years before. The insurance company had denied it. They had mortgaged their house to pay for it. I said, check your certificate of coverage and see how long they give you to file an appeal. She called me back. Oh, no. They only give us 12 months to file an appeal. The surgery was 2 years ago. I said, so what? That's just what they say. So, when your insurance company denies a treatment, we know that it's going to be very expensive. They will deny it at the last minute, and the treatment will be critical to your survival. What will you do? Well, you'll write an appeal. And you'll be very likely to win it if you just remember 3 things. Number 1, you are the only one who can win your appeal. Number 2, no appeal was ever meant to lead to an approval. Number 3, the most important thing about any appeal is who you send it to. You are the one who can win your appeal. When people get an insurance denial, the first thing they do is to call the doctor's office. The doctor will win my appeal. Back in the 1960s, your doctor was completely independent of the insurance company. He was ideally positioned to fight the insurer on your behalf. Times have changed. They changed a long time ago. Back in about 1970, the insurers put their heads together to try and figure out how to make doctors stop ordering all these expensive tests and treatments. They came up with the most diabolical means of control that you can imagine. Networks. For the past 40 years, when your doctor completes his medical education and comes out to practice, the first thing he does is to sign contracts with all the major insurance companies. He is now in network. He can take your insurance card. In other words, he's bound by contract to the insurance company. Insurance company gets to decide what treatments they're going to pay for, how much they're going to pay, when they're going to pay. If the doctor decides to cancel his contract, your doctor won't have any patients. Is he ideally positioned to fight the insurance company? No. Doctors cannot win these battles for us anymore. Besides, they have more important things to do, like saving our lives. The doctor is not going to win your appeal. Next, people turn to the legal profession. A lawyer will win my appeal. One of my recent claims to fame is that I won an appeal for a very prominent judge in the state of Michigan. He had already lost all 3 levels of appeal and the external review. He had looked all over the state of Michigan for an attorney to take his case, and he couldn't find one. Why? Insurers have the legal thing covered. They have 100 high-powered attorneys to your one attorney. They will keep you in the courts for years. Number 2, there's no money in it. When you win a denial of care case, there's not enough damages to pay a lawyer to fight for you for years. Number 3, the law doesn't move fast enough for us. When our life-saving treatments are denied, we need it next week, not next year. The lawyer isn't going to win your appeal. When all else fails, people say, the insurance commissioner will win my appeal. The insurance commissioner isn't going to fight your appeal. It's not his job. The job of the insurance commissioner is to know all the insurance laws and regulations in your state, to tell you how to get insurance coverage in your state. Most insurance commissioners come to the office after being an executive at an insurance company for their whole career. It's the world's worst conflict of interest. The insurance commissioner is not going to win your appeal. To an insurer, all appeals are contractual disputes. They don't care if we need the treatment. They don't care if our doctor says we need the treatment. They don't care if it's the only treatment that'll save our lives. There is only one question that any insurer cares about when deciding whether to pay or not. Are we required to pay for this per the terms of your contract? The good news? You are the one who holds the contract. You are the one who gets to say. Now, the next thing to remember is that no appeal was ever meant to lead to an approval. This is not a good faith process. If you do everything the insurer says, you give them all the information they asked for, you send it where they told you to send it, you will lose. Why? Because insurance company words usually mean exactly the opposite of what they appear to mean. It begins with the names of insurance companies. Blue Cross Blue Shield. My insurer is my cross and my shield. It sounds like a religious campaign, like Joan of Arc riding out in front of the troops to defend you. It's propaganda. United Healthcare. We're united. We have health. We care. There's one insurer who belongs in the insurance propaganda hall of shame. People, I can't make this stuff up. Golden Rule Insurance. Golden Rule Insurance. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. How would they like it if you didn't pay for their brain surgery? Some of the cheesiest, most restrictive plans have names like Gold Plan, Silver Plan, First Choice. And heaven help you if you choose a plan with the word advantage in the title, because someday you're going to find yourself at a great big disadvantage. So, how do we win an appeal? By doing exactly the opposite of what they say. I'll give you one example. The post office box. Why is every appeals department of every insurance company always a post office box? Because a post office box has no name. You can't call a post office box on the... You can't march up and down in front of a post office box with a sign. There's no accountability. So what's the opposite? I spend 1 to 2 days building an organization chart for the insurance company, the insurer, and the employer. I find all the highest level decision makers at the insurer and the employer. And then I stay up really late at night, Googling like crazy, until I find most of their personal office phone numbers and all of their email addresses. We send to 18 of them simultaneously, and the next morning, I put my helpie on the phone. I train them how to do this. Hi, John Smith here. Just calling to see if you received my urgent expedited appeal. You did? Great. Tell me, when can we expect a decision on that? And we will keep calling until we have our decision. Usually we send the appeals on the Sunday, and we have a decision by Tuesday noon. There's nothing an insurer hates more than having us calling their highest level executives all day long. And the fastest way to get rid of us is to pay for it. Pay for it. So if you want to lose your appeal, do as they say. If you want to win your appeal, do the opposite of what they say. So how many here have insurance through your employer? Employer. Over 85% of the employer plans nowadays are self-funded plans. Who knows what self-funded means? Not very many. They really kind of. You know, they really don't want you to know exactly what it means, because in a self-funded plan, the employer is paying for all your medical treatments. Every blood test, every doctor's visit, every surgery, the employer is paying for it. Therefore, since the employer is financially at risk, the employer is the final decision maker on all medical treatments. Congratulations, your employer gets to decide if your child gets brain surgery. If you fight your appeal up the insurer food chain and leave out the employer, you're barking up the wrong tree. So how many here have Medicare? Got some Medicare folks? Who runs Medicare? Who's in charge?
Government.
Is Medicare a government program? Not really. There are 15 private companies all around the country who administer Medicare. They're called Medicare contractors. They get to decide what treatments they're going to pay for, how much they're going to pay, when they're going to pay. There is no such thing as a government health plan. They are all run by private companies. If you fight your appeal up the Medicare food chain and leave out the private company, you're barking up the wrong tree. If you send your appeal to the correct decision makers, you get to say. So what insurance issues do we face in 2016? I don't really see as many denials as I used to 10 years ago. I believe that the biggest issues for us nowadays are networks. Over the past several years, insurers have been shrinking their doctor and hospital networks. The smaller the network, the less they pay. Let's see how it works. What's the most expensive medical center in Texas? MD Anderson. Well, if Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas wants to save a lot of money, just put MD Anderson out of network. They tried it a few years ago. And doing it again. They'll never stop trying. So I'm sure many of you have out-of-network coverage, PPO, that type of thing. Let's see how your out-of-network coverage works. Let's say you need a $100,000 out-of-network surgery. You look in your summary of benefits, and it says they'll pay 70% for out-of-network. So you go, okay, 70% of $100,000 is $70,000. So if I can come up with the other $30,000, we put it together and it's covered, right? No. If you believe that, you just got snookered. A percentage means nothing until you know what figure it's based on. Insurers never base their payment on the doctor's bill. They base it on their own allowable amount. Allowable amount is a secret number generated by secret data companies, which is always very, very low. So let's take your $100,000 surgery. A typical allowable amount for a $100,000 surgery would be about $10,000. 70% of $10,000 is $7,000. Congratulations, now you owe $93,000. And after a few more refinements and reductions, if you go out of network, you're going to pay nearly the whole $100,000. Your out-of-network approval is no better than a denial. We are brainwashed into believing that we have to go where they take our insurance card or go broke. It's not true. I have been winning in-network, out-of-network appeals for 11 years, beginning with my own. No insurance company gets to tell you where you're going to go for treatment. They don't get to say. You get to say. Suzanne and I believe, have somewhat of a heart connection because she just told the story I'm going to tell, but I'm going to tell it from my point of view. In March 2008, I had an email from a gal named Suzanne Lindley. Somebody had given her a copy of my book. Suzanne asked me if I would give her some advice, which I did. Over the next few months, Suzanne and I got to know each other. One day, Suzanne called me on the phone and said, "I've written an appeal. Would you consider writing suggestions and comments on it?" I said, "Sure." So that night, I got out my big red pen of correction. I copy-edited the document. I corrected words. I corrected sentence structure. I corrected appearance of the page, content, strategy. I sent the appeal back to Suzanne and didn't think about it again. That is, until a year later. Suzanne invited me to speak at her liver symposium in Chicago in May of 2009. At a certain point, the symposium was over, and we were sitting among the boxes talking. Suzanne said, "There's something I didn't tell you." Okay. She said, "When I saw what you'd done to my appeal, I sat there and cried. I was devastated." Suzanne continued. She said, "I told my friend Randy how hurt I was by what you'd done to my appeal. Randy said, 'It seems to me like Lori did all this to help you make your appeal as good as it could be. She must care about you very much. This is a really good friend.'" Randy was Randy Pausch, the author of the bestseller, The Last Lecture, who made us all feel better about our cancer journeys. Because Suzanne and I engaged in this work together, we both grew in compassion. Because this is not about insurance. This is about life. This is about growing in compassion when you feel the most wounded. This is about winning great victories when life suddenly spins out of control. It's about dignity. It's about grace. It's about winning a strategy game with the highest possible stakes, then helping others to do the same. In every one of my 178 cases, the insurers were determined not to pay for it. If I had believed them, I wouldn't have won any of them. But I knew that when the insurer says no, it's not the law, it's just what they say, and that what we say is more truthful, more factual, more eloquent, and far more powerful than anything that they could ever say. Thank you.